Roadkill Extra shows up every weekday on MotorTrend On Demand, and you can see them all with a 30-day free trial at MotorTrendOnDemand.com. But here's an example of one of the shows that you missed last week. This time on Roadkill Extra, I'm going to tell you a lot more about my current favorite car, my '71 Plymouth Road Runner. You saw me buy this thing in an episode of Roadkill, and you've seen us work on it on Roadkill Garage. But generally in those edits, you don't get to see inside the deep nitty-gritty, and so I'm going to give you that right now. So this is a 1971 Plymouth Road Runner. The Road Runner started in 1968, and they were a very boxy car through '71 when this body style came out, which is called the fuselage body style. And they only did this in '71 and '72. In '73 they changed a little bit again, and in my opinion got uglier, although that's a funny statement because a lot of people consider this car really, really ugly. I don't know why, but of course I dig it because I had one when I was 19 years old. It was a 446-pack 4-speed car in triple black, and I was looking for one of these for a long, long time. And what makes this particular example the perfect one for me is that it's in good original shape, but it's not flawless. I did not want a restored car because I wanted to be able to drive this thing all the time, and I didn't want to freak out about, driving it in dirt or things like that. This has got a bunch of chips and things. On Roadkill Garage, we made it good and shiny, but it's not perfect by a long shot. So it is factory Hemi orange car. The paint code's EV2. It has been repainted once. Let me back up to the story of how I came to have this car. Apparently, a guy bought it new up in Northern California, and it sat forever, and apparently he passed away in like 95-ish, and his son got the car and just parked it for a long, long time. And then another guy bought it who had it for a year, and he was a Roadkill fan. And when I went on Facebook saying I'm really dying to find a '71 Road Runner, Brian Crumpacker is the guy's name. He came up with this car. He was the guy who owned it for about a year. But and I've only had it for a couple months. So between when he bought it, the last time it had run, I think the last sticker on the thing is like 92 or something like that. So it only has 95,000 original miles on it, but the original owner apparently rubbed it up against a pole or something, and it has been painted once. When Steve and I went through and rubbed out all of the paint on Roadkill Garage, we determined this is very likely an Imron or a DuPont Centauri repaint on the thing because it was able to come up so good. I mean, that was back when the acrylic enamels were just really, really good paints. And so it's not original paint, but it is pretty good. And interestingly, when they repainted it, obviously there were some stickers that were still available from the dealership, like the inserts here on the hood, but probably not the factory strobe stripe, because this car is coated optionally from the factory with the strobe stripe, but it didn't have it on it anymore. It just had a little Roadrunner bird stuck on it. So I put the stripe back on because that's one of my favorite parts. If you go back here, you can see that this decal here has been replaced with the paint job, the Plymouth Road Runner decal, because it's actually supposed to be right there. But unfortunately, they put it back in the wrong place. Also, we know this is a California car, partially because I've got all the original paperwork from it, but also because it doesn't have the very cool machine gun type, like water-cooled looking exhaust tips that they put on 49 state cars. Apparently the California ones had some kind of, I don't know, either smog or noise rule that prevented them from having that cool exhaust tip, so this doesn't. It does have the Roadrunner decor package, which was an option, which includes this blackout around the taillights, and that blackout should go down here as well. In fact, you can see that when they painted the car, they painted over that black decal. There's like a mark there and a mark there where they painted over it. But aside from that, the body is really solid. It does have just a little bit of rust bubbling here and here, but everywhere else, completely solid. Okay, back to up here. This is a 383 car, not as cool as the 6-pack that I had just out of high school, but a lot more affordable these days. That car that I had that was a 6-pack car, I bought it when I was 19 for $3,100 and sold it for $3,800 and thought I had made a killing. And that car subsequently got restored and sold for 125 grand. Prices on them have come down to where that six-pack car is probably worth about 75 or 80 now. I paid $11,000 for this, which for me is a ton of money, but kind of a decent deal for what the car is. And it came with an air grabber hood that I'll show you later on. So this is the original 383, pretty much untouched. It does have a Holley carburetor on it that's not factory, but everything else under here is just like, it's been maintained, but nothing modified. It does have this very cool old Mark 10 capacitive discharge ignition box on it, but it was never hooked up. The wires are just dangling there. It does have the original Road Runner horn that goes meep meep. Let's see if I can make it go meep meep. Meep meep. So that's pretty cool. All original. The one downside to me is that it does not have the 26-inch radiator. It's got the 22-inch radiator, and the thing does run a little bit hot. In fact, that's one of the things I would like to address on the car. But you can see pretty unmolested. It hasn't been painted under here. This is all the original paint, original decals. For those of you who are not into Mopar muscle cars, you might not be aware that you can go to this tag right here on one of these cars and you can look at all of the options that it had from the factory. It tells you everything, paint code, when it was built, where it was built, all of the options. And one of the options that it did have was factory hood pins. Those aren't aftermarket, they're original. The door jamb on this car tells me that it's a fairly early build. It was built in September of 1970, even though it's a 71 model. And my theory is that that's probably why it has a silver grille. The Road Runners would have been spec'd with a black grille, but this thing has silver upper and lower, and the original rally wheels that we took off this car had silver center caps, where in 71 they should be dark argent, almost a black, a very, very dark gray color. Another option that it had was the chrome racing mirrors. I actually prefer the base mirrors on these cars, but it is what it is. Listen to that, the seat buzzer works. Or not the seat buzzer, but the key buzzer. The Road Runner decor group came with two-tone door panels. These are an upgraded door panel over there. You can see that they're gray and black. But it's a bench seat car. This also is a gray insert, which is really hard to tell now because it's so worn out, with a black on the rest of the bench. I like the bench seat. I wish this car was a 4-speed. It's not. It's an automatic. Also, if you come around here and have a look at the instrument cluster on this thing, factory rally dash, but it does not have the optional tachometer. This gauge right here could have been a tach, or it could have been a clock. Unfortunately, this is the base model dash for this car. However, it is optioned with a tough wheel. This is a upgraded steering wheel that you could get from the factory. It would have had a black foam grip before somebody put this on. They always get loose like this. They finally reproduced that steering wheel. I might put a new one on there. It is an automatic on the column. I really wanted a 4-speed when I went shopping for one of these, but unfortunately that wasn't in the cards. The rest of the car is just right. I don't think I'm gonna put a 4-speed in it though. This is also kind of a bummer. It did come with the factory canopy roof, and I really wish it did not have vinyl, but it does. It's way better than the full vinyl top, which really destroys the lines of these cars, in my opinion. Here's something interesting I have heard guys say. I won't swear to this for a fact, but you read this in Mopar lore. See this X right here? That is an indicator on the assembly line that when they painted the top of the car, the roof was not perfectly smooth. It like had a dent or a flaw or something in it, and they often put a vinyl top on them when that happened. Now, I don't think that's the case with this particular car because this was custom ordered. That tag I showed you under the fender tells us that it actually was custom ordered and it has that option code. So that's sort of in conflict with that old story about how that was done. But I probably will put the vinyl top back on it just because I can't afford to paint the car. It's presentable as is, and I don't want to deal with that roof by painting it. This stripe is reflective, which I don't know if you can tell in this light, but it is super cool. If you see it in some of the episodes, you can see that it goes silver and black in different light, which is really cool. I did change the wheels and tires on this. I don't normally like wheel well lip molding on these cars, but again, the Road Runner Decor Group came with that, and I will live with it. The wheels and tires, this is a US Indy dish mag, which is very, very similar to what they sold in the 60s. This is a brand new wheel. American Racing also makes an Anson dish mag that doesn't look as cool, in my opinion, as the US Indy. This is a 15x9. If I remember correctly, it's got 5-inch back spacing, and on the front, I've got a 15x8, which is much better looking, in my opinion, than a 15x7 and a 15x8 in the back. It's a 275/60/15 Cooper Cobra GT. On the front, I've got a 235/60 Cooper Cobra GT, and if I were to do it again, I think I could fit a 245 on it, which would give a nice and meaty look to this thing. So far, we've gone through the basics of the suspension on the car. We put a 276 gear in the back of it because I want to cruise this thing on the highway. I want to be able to drive up here to Steve Dulcich's place, which is like 180 miles from my house. I just want to be able to go 80 miles an hour all day long. So I gave up a lot of performance to have a real highway rear end gear in the thing. And in fact, on the episode that we're up here on Roadkill Garage shooting today, we're trying to perk the thing up a little bit. It's so slow. This thing is a dog. I'm hoping the secondaries don't open or the timing is off or something like that. But those are all the things that we'll be finding out on a full episode of Roadkill Garage here on MotorTrend On Demand. And that's a wrap on this episode of Roadkill Extra. Here's what you missed last week on Roadkill Extra, exclusively on MotorTrend On Demand.
Come on in, let's look around. These headlights are $800 for a pair.
This is a 1971 Plymouth Road Runner. So this is the original 383, pretty much untouched. Wow, avocado green. That is disgusting. What were you thinking? If you need more Roadkill Extra, go sign up for the 30-day free trial right now.